Hi, I'm Bill Kauth. I'm one of the original founders of the Mankind Project, and I'm sitting in my backyard here in the sunshine. I've got some stuff I'd like to share with you, my fellow elders. And just speaking of elders, I am actually 79 years old today. It's my birthday. I'm entering my 80th year. I've been around a long time. May have some wisdom. We'll see. At any rate, I'd like to share a little bit about how this all started and some of the qualities that seemed important to have as the Mankind Project evolved. And I kind of got to bless my dad. He was a farm kid that became an entrepreneur. And as I was growing up, he used to challenge me often to appreciate intellectual curiosity, to really question things, to not just let it go, but to go deeper in. And I learned to do that. And I followed his entrepreneurial vision, I guess. Just his was hard side, mine was soft side, but that was wonderful. I also kind of found my passion in graduate school for groups, and there was a counterpart to Esalen in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, if you can imagine that. And I was crazed. I loved that group thing so much. Boy, I spent way too much money and uh, and time learning inner growth stuff. And I was in the Milwaukee Gestalt training group with Ron Herring. That's how I got to know him originally. So by the time I got to be a psychotherapist, I had the eyes to see evolved humans. And I also identified very much with the powerful force at that time, which was the women's movement. So I actually called myself a feminist therapist, which meant essentially authentic relationships. So at one point, real early on, I got invited to the Wisconsin Feminist Therapists Association, Wisconsin, blah, blah, blah. And I went to that, and I think out of 125 feminist therapists, I was the only guy. And about the third day, I was out in the lobby, and I looked around, and I had the eyes like, oh my God, all these incredibly, beautifully evolved humans, and I'm the only guy, and damn it, somebody's got to do something for the men. And that finger pointing out kind of turned around, and it was like a divine call coming in. I tried to push it away, but it was in. Yeah. So I became like a crazy man from then on. I was just obsessed. That was the only thing I could do is figure out how to do something for men. So I contacted my old friend Ron Herring and a new amazing friend I'd gotten to know, Rich Tosi, who, unlike Ron and I, were kind of academics. He was a business guy with General Motors, and he had done 10 years in the Marine Corps. At any rate, we got together, and for some reason we operated as absolute peers. There was no hierarchy. We just allowed it to flow through. It was like it was channeled. It was just so pure back then. That was in '84. So we launched in the very next year, and it was slow for the first year, but it started picking up energy. And then Bly's book hit 1 million copies at Iron John, and we just exploded. And MKP was moving all around the world so quickly. Now I'm delighted to say we're in 37 countries, and we're opening up Asia, Africa, and South America. All various different countries on those continents are opening up. And it's really exciting. And we have 10,000 men that sit every week in circle in the integration groups. Frankly, I love that. All these men just doing their inner work, learning who they are, learning to love. So after 10 years, the chair finally asked me as a founder what I wanted. And I said, I want a seat on the board. I want 1% of my creation. I want it to be called Visionary at Large. And they said, great, you got it all. So then I started taking this visionary thing seriously. I started studying, how the world works, what's going on. And I was frankly shocked and, disappointed. And because what I saw was so much duplicity. There was so much lies in history. And even a lot of history that I had lived through, like the JFK murder. Once you start studying that, it's astonishing what we've been fed by the history books. So by the time 9/11 or the events of September 11th, 2001 happened, I already the falling of those 3 buildings. Yes, 3 buildings. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go and study Building 7. Any rate, I already distrusted the media, so I distrusted that thing right from the very beginning, and I've been studying, hundreds and hundreds of hours since then, and any skepticism that I might have had that the media story was accurate is long gone. Which brings me up to the current global crisis. And because I was, again, I'd gotten very skeptical of mass media and found a great deal of alternative media that I trusted so much more that by the time the whole COVID drama came in, I just simply distrusted it and started looking to the alternative media and trying to figure out who to trust. And this is a big question. Who do we trust? How do we know that anything is accurate? And what I've done is I get it as close to home. I trust sources as absolutely close to home as I can find. For example, there's a brother, MKP brother out in New England named Chris Martinson, who's had an ongoing blog and show for a couple of years now. And I know this guy. I've known him for years. I've been to his house and done interviews with him and stuff. And I just trust him. That's one of the places I get my sources. The other one is a woman named Jennifer Margulis, who she's a PhD and a book author, and Joe Lauer's wife networked her with me when she moved out here to Ashland, and she is just brilliant. I trust her enormously. So that's where I get another source of my information. The other is a brother named Jack Travis. He's a doctor, and he founded the whole wellness movement way back when he was a young doc. He and I are about the same age, but I trust him. So I get the stuff that he pulls in and we share. Gives me reasonably accurate data in my judgment, so as I could, because again I don't trust the big media. And the other one who I really, really have come to love and appreciate is a MKP brother named Charles Eisenstein. Now you must have heard of him. He's gotten incredibly famous. He's become a major keynoter and a writer of several books. I've known him since '09 when we brought him here to Ashland to do a workshop on community building, and we've connected, and I've been to his house, he's been to our house, and I know his wife and his kids. At any rate, he very recently wrote a book called Coronation, which I think is just amazingly wonderful because it's a series of his essays that reflect his journey over the past 2 years. In April of 2020, he wrote this, and he struggled as to whether he should even go into talking about the alternative story about COVID. And he somehow found the courage to do that, knowing that he would get trashed, which he did. He got trashed and lost all kinds of his followers. He had probably 500,000 followers. And he also got dumped by his publisher, and he knew that. He knew he was going to take a hit for even daring to speak about the alternative, because there was so much censorship going on. He knew that the balance was skewed, that he would get trashed, and he did. But he was speaking a kind of truth that there was millions of us, many of us, who went, oh my God, this guy is actually speaking the truth. So he attracted way more than he lost by finding the courage to speak his truth. And in a lot of his essays, he talked about being brave and what it takes to be brave. And he, like me, could see the underpinning of this whole drama, which was the dehumanization and the scapegoating, is the material of totalitarianism. So both he and I could see that there's some shadow under this whole drama that we really needed to look at. So inspired by Charles's essays and several others. There's a couple other writers that I've come to appreciate, and I've really come to appreciate Naomi Wolf. I don't know if you've followed her, but she's been speaking a level of truth that's impressed me for so long. And I got to meet her about 6 weeks ago. She was right here in Ashland, and just dazzling. I so much appreciate her. The other character out there that I've come to so admire is Bobby Kennedy. He's Robert's son, and the courage of that man I just find stunning. And he takes so many hits, but he's willing to stand up courageously and speak a truth that I definitely admire. I'm thinking of the context presentation, which I wrote about 35 years ago. And in there it says, being a visionary, being ahead of your time can be dangerous. And I mentioned Robert Kennedy, and I mentioned Gandhi, and I mentioned Martin Luther King as visionaries ahead of their time that had the courage to speak out. And for them, it was dangerous. And it's been dangerous for Charles. It's been, well, I hope it's not dangerous for me, because I'm speaking out here. I'm speaking a truth that may be dicey. So, and it has been. It's been very hard in my life. As you know, I'm a community builder. So Zoe and I built a tribe here 8 years ago. We met every single week, carefully chose the people. And when COVID came in, it tore us apart. There were some that were so scared that they demanded, they basically dominated the whole group. And they just demanded that we always wear masks, that we meet outside, that we stay apart from each other, and all of those kinds of things. And everybody kind of folded up. And for a while I tried to share information so that they wouldn't have to be so afraid, and they basically told me to take my information and stick it. It was mean, eventually became cruel. And then I attempted to suggest that we should have a meeting and talk about the levels of fear in our group, and that just put them over the top. They became vicious and screaming at me during check-in, and check-in's pretty sacred. So with broken heart, I resigned from that group. And I spent a couple of months crying, and a couple of months just numb as a bone, and then several months grieving, when you actually realize, oh my God, they're gone. And I finally popped out the other end and realized that I had to start over. It was pretty hard, which I've started over. Like last night, I had my little birthday party, and it was a dozen of these fabulous new friends that I've been enrolling into my life. It's been a heck of a journey, boy. It's been hard, and it's been joyous. So let's see, where are we going? Charles writes a lot in his book about the scapegoat, how scapegoats have always been part of cultures. When cultures get in trouble, they need somebody to blame. So they blame witches, or they blame the Jews, or they blame somebody, or black people in the South. And then they kill them ceremonially or ritually or somehow, and they feel good about it, and somehow that seems to put the group back together, because they've denied what's really going on by scapegoating somebody else. Anyway, the unvaxxed are the scapegoated, right? Are the scapegoats right now. So that's part of the suffering that I've gone through as one of the unvaxxed people in my group, my former group, that is. So. I know that I'm not the only one. I know that this conflict around COVID has destroyed families. It's destroyed friendships. I've heard so many stories about, friends, 20, 30-year-old friends, just gone, done, gone. So I'm not the only one that suffered with this. So how that's relevant to elders is that we really, really, really do need to keep our hearts open, to be willing to hold both possibilities, to be willing to listen. And damn it, that's hard. It requires a kind of an ability to trust who I am, to trust my own sovereignty, to trust that I can listen to you honestly, authentically. And I've lived this way for a long time personally, that, I'll hold an opinion. I can hold it pretty sharply and solidly. And if you bring me something better, I am there in a heartbeat. But meanwhile, I will hold the reality that feels right to me. So in Charles's book, right in the first couple of pages, he says this. He says, COVID has revealed how close we are to totalitarianism. It took so very little for the full machinery of the system to spring into action. Surveillance, censorship, propaganda, restriction of movement, suspension of civil liberties. Yeah, it's almost as if those forces were prepared and had been preparing for a long time to bring this stuff all forward. So partially, I'm asking you as a fellow elder, I'm almost begging you, do the research. There's a danger coming in here, and I judge COVID as just kind of a superficial way of seeing how much we could be manipulated. So thank you so much for hearing that, and please keep asking questions, because this is when it gets really personal. Like, the U.S. president said quite clearly, if you take this vax, you will be protected. And we all know that was at this point that was a lie. So too many of us trusted that lie, and the results seem to indicate that the vax is actually harming people. And one of the ways it harms people is by exacerbating cancer. So within the last few weeks, last month, I have literally lost 2 really sweet friends, and I have shoveled dirt onto their coffins, and I know 6 more of my really awesome friends who have had their cancer reactivated. So this is me, this is you, this is my wife. Need to study and find out what's going on. So I don't know if this story is going to touch you individually. You may think I'm nuts and walk away, or you may rejoice and say, oh my God, a rare fellow sharing an unpopular story. Or you may just feel curious, or you say, like, what the hell's he talking about? But damn it, I'm curious. I am actually going to do some study on the other side from where I've been. Yeah, I've done that, by the way. My politics, I can't tell whether I'm right or left anymore. I've actually been so shocked by this whole thing. I've been studying the other side of politics that I used to feel so fierce about, and learning some really terrific stuff. So my message to you basically is, as an elder, as a capable elder, please practice listening, keep learning, stay with an open mind. For God's sake, embrace critical thinking, or intellectual curiosity, as my dad used to call it. I invite you to cherish those qualities in yourself, because the world needs you. The world needs us. Thank you.